Darkness had slowly begun to descend upon the suburban streets. The flickering lights of the street lamps glowed like yellow stains on the pavement, and the silence of the day was giving way to distant murmurs, merging with the night. Vinicius Junior, his jersey soaked in sweat and his training bag on his back, was slowly pedaling his bike home. It had only been 10 minutes since he left basketball practice. Everything in the neighborhood was familiar. Sleepy birds on the rooftops, the sound of televisions leaking from open windows, the occasional headlights slicing through the night. But within that familiarity, something felt different this time. There was a tension in the air, indescribable, but palpable. As Vinicius Junior turned the corner, he heard the sound of an engine behind him. At first, he didn't pay attention, but the sound grew closer, slowed down, and stopped right next to him. The vehicle door opened. The thud of boots hitting the ground followed. Then a voice shattered the natural calm of the street. "Hey, you! Stop right there!" Vinicius Junior braked. The pedal of the bike spun backward, and the chain sagged silently. When he turned to look, he saw a police officer standing before him. The officer was pointing a flashlight directly at Vinicius Junior's face, eyes narrowed with suspicion. "We got a report of a stolen bike," the officer said with a seriousness too rehearsed. "You match the description." Vinicius Junior tried to understand at first. Then he cleared his throat and spoke. "This is my bike. My dad bought it for me. It's even registered with the school. I can show you if you want." The officer smiled, but it wasn't a reassuring smile. It was cold, condescending, born out of habit and contempt. "Your dad, huh? Are we going to see him soon? What does your miracle dad do for a living?" Vinicius Junior's vision darkened, but his voice stayed steady. "My dad is in special forces. He could be here any second." The officer's laugh sliced through the air. It was mocking, patronizing. "Special forces? You expect me to believe that, kid?" he said, then grabbed Vinicius Junior's wrist, tightly, with more force than necessary. Curtains twitched in the windows of the surrounding houses. Shadowy figures began to appear behind the glass. No one came outside, but everyone was watching. Everyone was silently witnessing how a child was being accused, cornered by a presumption. Vinicius Junior swallowed hard. His eyes searched the darkness. A way out, a voice. He thought about complying as always. Hold it together, answer the questions, be polite, just like his father always said. But the officer's laughter and that tone, broke something inside him. Just then a voice came over the radio. The officer reached for his radio, but his other hand was still clutching Vinicius Junior's wrist. "We're bringing the kid to the station for verification." It sounded like routine, but Vinicius Junior knew exactly what it meant. He'd be taken to the car. His ID would be checked. He might not return home for hours. He'd have to explain who he was. Again. Then another sound pierced the silence of the night. Tires screeching to a halt. A black SUV slid to a stop right behind the patrol car. Its headlights shone directly at the officer. The door opened slowly. The sound of boots on pavement, firm and deliberate. A figure emerged, military posture, a body standing tall, and eyes locked unflinchingly on Vinicius Junior. Vinicius Junior's heart sped up. "Dad," he whispered. The officer sized up the man, instinctively moving his hand toward his holster. But he didn't act before the man spoke. The silence was heavy. Only breathing could be heard now. Then the man spoke. His voice was soft, but the weight it carried made each word fall like stone. "What are you doing with my son?" The officer swallowed. "Sir, this is our duty. Just following procedure. We got a report." The man stepped forward. Each step felt like it stopped the heartbeat of the entire street. "A report? A matching description? And what's your description?" Another officer chimed in. "A bike, skin color, hoodie." Without blinking, the man pulled out his military ID and held it up, medals gleaming on his chest, a nameplate. Special Forces. Silence. Every unspoken word echoed through the street. It was real. All of it was real. The officer's expression changed. The arrogance vanished, replaced by unease. "Look, we didn't do anything wrong. We were just doing our job." The man stepped closer, his voice now cold as ice. "Is your job to show my son what he's not? Does he have to prove every day that he's not a thief? Does he have to be misunderstood every evening on his way home? I wore this uniform and fought for this country, a country that accuses my son for merely existing." The officer raised a hand in a defensive gesture. "No need for this to escalate." "That's exactly why," the man said, eyes locked deep into the officer's. "You're going to remove those cuffs from my son." Silence, then a click, the sound of metal releasing. Vinicius Junior was free. But his hands were still shaking. His father stepped closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You okay?" Vinicius Junior nodded, but couldn't speak. His throat was tight. "Why does this always happen?" he whispered. His father looked at him. His eyes carried the weariness of battles, missions, and, perhaps hardest of all, the countless moments he had to remain silent. But his voice was soft. "Because some people only feel respect when they're afraid. But you don't have to prove anything to them. You know who you are, and that's enough." The streetlights flickered. As the night quietly closed behind them, father and son began to walk. What remained was a cold sidewalk, a sea of silent witnesses, and a lasting lesson. That night, for the first time, Vinicius Jr. understood that his father's strength wasn't in the uniform. It was in the courage to stand tall with a rage long silenced. And maybe one day, when he spoke up for his own justice, his voice would change something too. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Because sometimes, a story is the loudest voice in silence.